educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Thank you very much for tuning in today. It's nice to have a kindred spirit. You know, she is from the Philadelphia area, and we've been laughing and joking for probably the last 15, 20 minutes. I feel like the last 15, 20 years. I feel like we've been good friends for a long time, you know, but she is an award-winning marketing specialist and founder of Sunny Dublick Marketing. Originally from New Jersey, she has spent over 15 years in the marketing and advertising industry, working with high-profile clients such as the Philadelphia 76ers, Go Sixers, and Hanes brands, as well as small and medium-sized businesses spanning the hospitality, retail, and professional services industries. After spending the first 9 years of her career working for various advertising agencies and corporate marketing departments in the greater Philadelphia area, she set out on her own. And so now I present to you an inspiration and, like I said, a kindred spirit, and it feels like someone that has, you know, I've known for a long time, and I appreciate her for coming on today. I present to you Sunny Dublick. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm really stoked for this conversation.
Sure, no problem. So you've been doing marketing, right? You said marketing, but there's a burning question that a lot of people don't understand what the differences are between branding and marketing. So what is the difference? What sets those two words apart?
Yep. So I think, like you were saying, I think often people think it's synonymous, and, we toss the word brand around so readily. Like you'll have a conversation with a friend, they'll be like, that's so on brand for me. Right. So I want you to think of branding as your identity.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, and, listeners for this podcast even might be thinking about forming personal brands. I myself am a personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
So you already have an identity in who you are as a human, but who you are as a business and all of that is when you get into branding.
Mm-hmm.
So it's everything from the logo, the aesthetic, the feel, the colors you use, the fonts you use, how you talk about yourself, the images that you show. So I want you to think of branding as the individual that brand might be. Because when you talk about big brands, you talk about Coca-Cola, Apple, all of those, right? So those are kind of the brands that we think of and how we identify them. When we get to the marketing side, marketing is such a weird, abstract term.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually do this exercise where like I Google all the various definitions of it, and they all sound so stuffy and weird. And I'm like, how is it we can't define this in super simple terms? So I used to say marketing was saying the right things to the right people, right? And that's part of it. But I've actually kind of changed my stance on this. And I like to say marketing is finding connection with the right people, the people that your product or service is going to impact, influence, whatever it is that you set out to do. You ultimately, as a business owner, have created a product or service to make someone's life better, happier, easier, whatever it is. So marketing is the way that you connect with them. And that can be anything from, the things that we'll talk about, like digital marketing, social media, emails, personal one-on-one conversations, whatever that might be. But it's the brand is really who you are and what you're rooted in. Marketing is really how you connect and talk with those folks.
So why is it important for me to talk to these individuals? Because I have one thing in my mind and I know that I'm great.
Yep.
But unfortunately, Sonny, I'm not selling anything or my product is not moving. So what's going on with my marketing? Like I'm posting 8 times a day on social media.
Oh God, don't do that. We all hate that person. I'm just kidding.
But I mean,
well, it's funny. I had a business coach for a while, and she would always say this. It was one of my favorite things. It's like, you can have the best product or service in the world, and if you don't have customers, you have an expensive hobby. So your business is nothing without people. And I think, that's like the one thing that I will stand up, shout from the rooftops, the soapbox I will always go on, is that we live in a world where we see something and we're like, okay, unmet need, I'm going to make this. And we have this field of dreams mindset. If we build it, they will come. It's not always the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I suggest to anybody, especially when you're in the ideation phase of a business, and I actually do this work a lot with individuals where they'll come to me and, I've actually real world had this happen over the past couple of months. Business owner has come to me and said, "Hey, I've already done the branding. So I
Mm-hmm.
have the design and everything for this brand done.
Mm-hmm.
I just need you to market this." And my pushback was like, "Hey, there's some funkiness around the offering that I really want to talk through with you guys, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to do more research on this."
Mm-hmm.
And I think research is the unsexy part of marketing that nobody wants to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one of the most beneficial things. So I did a competitive analysis. I did market research on this was if this is a growing or shrinking industry, what are the
Mm-hmm.
trends that are coming up? What are we seeing kind of moving into the next phase? And then from there, I did a number of in-depth interviews,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds super fancy, but really it was just me talking to people about their habits and what they like and what they don't like. And through that research, the presentation that I did, the business owner thought it through and they were like, "Hey, we actually don't think that this is a great idea to pursue.
Mm.
We had this idea. It's not like we're missing a mark somewhere and we'd
Mm-hmm.
rather go a different route." And I think that's so important because so often we come with the ego
Mm-hmm.
and say, "I know people want this. I'm going to make money off of this." And
Mm-hmm.
we're forcing a square peg into a round hole. Um, People aren't want for choice anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, say that you wanted, and I use this example kind of jokingly, but like protein powder. I asked my best friend about protein powder, and she's like, "I get this special stuff from Australia that like you can only find here." And I'm like, "What?" But like, she's like, "There's so many I've tried." And even I go into Google and there's like a million options for protein
Mm-hmm.
powder.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're coming to market and you want to market protein powder, you got to think long and hard about what's going to be special and important and unique and who that's for. And I think
Mm.
oftentimes that's the missing mark is people come to the table, they're like, "Well, I'm here. I've set my table up. I have everything ready to sell and not a single person is biting."
Mm-hmm.
Have you made sure that there's alignment? Do people really want this? And most
Mm.
importantly, do you know who the people that you want to buy from you are? Have you
Hmm.
defined them? Because oftentimes people will say, "Well, anybody, this is anybody could use this." And I'm like, "Okay, well, if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody." You were
Right.
making that joke about the posting 8 times a day. I think what kills me about marketing is I think that that's a common consensus right
Mm-hmm.
now is
Mm-hmm.
if I want to be successful, I just have to be really active on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I always joke like you and everybody else. Like that market is so crowded, is
Right.
so saturated.
Right.
I mean, God, every toilet paper brand is on Instagram. Like,
Right.
right? Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're right.
so if you want to truly make an impact, I suggest you find one thing and do it really well instead of doing 45 things and just
Mm-hmm.
hit your head against a wall of why isn't this working?
Mm-hmm.
And I joke there's so much of marketing that's a sea of sameness. But if you have a brand and every one of your brand's competitors are on the same platform saying the same thing, trying to just be salesy, be salesy,
Mm-hmm.
be salesy, it's not going to work and you're wasting money.
Hmm. So you're told that you might want to consider doing some ads, or increase your posting. So how can I reach my target market? And like you said, based off of analytics and stuff, we might not understand who our target market really is. But
Yeah.
but if we have this target market in mind, and if I don't have the money to spend on ads, or why should I spend money on ads? Or as you're talking about uh, increasing my posting, if that's not going to work, then what should I do? Which way should I
Yep.
go? Especially if I don't understand totally the mindset of my target market.
Yeah. I think that we all have this idea that we have to have these giant ad spends. And it's interesting because any platform now, I mean, you can advertise on television
Mm-hmm.
with any of your YouTube commercials, right? But like, I see this happening over time and getting significantly worse.
Mm-hmm.
People are burned out. There's massive ad fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they say that the average person makes around 30,000 decisions a day, right? And most of those decisions
Mm-hmm.
we don't even think about. It's like, what time am I going to get up? Am I going to brush my teeth now or I'm going to wait till after I have coffee? Like all of those decisions are happening in our brain, most of them subconsciously, because we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to, if we had to sit down and outline every decision that we're making, we would
Mm-hmm.
be exhausted.
Right.
add to that that they say an average consumer gets around 10,000 marketing messages a day. So I think I always joke, put your thing down, flip it and reverse it is like one of my favorite things to say to clients. But as consumers, we hate this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure you've been there where you've typed into like Google, like, oh, I want like a red couch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like a red chair.
Mm-hmm.
And then for 6 months, you're getting emails. Do you still want this red
Right.
couch? And every website you're on, there's this red couch. And eventually you're like, I don't even want this anymore. I'm annoyed, right?
Right.
Like I like to say, like, imagine if your brand and the way that you were marketing to people, you
Mm-hmm.
were an actual person. Like, I joke that the worst social media is being that drunk person at the party where you're up there just endlessly talking about yourself. You should buy this. You should do this. I know better about this. Like, you're not being social. You're
Mm-hmm.
literally being like a walking ad, and people don't like that. That's goes flies in the face of everything social media.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we have a perception that to get through to customers, we need ads, and that is not true. Like,
Hmm.
organic marketing is such a real thing. And I want to bring it back to the very baseline of there's two ways that you can go in
Mm-hmm.
marketing. It's either you have a need for something or you don't know that this exists and you might want it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a need for something, what is basic human nature? You search for it or you ask a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say the most low hanging fruit, and again, it's unsexy to talk about, is always referrals. Like, how can you do one thing? Again, I had a client recently who was setting up coaching business, and she was like, I don't know how I'm going to get clients. And I said to her, what you need to do is offer people either super low level cost wise or free coaching sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and just make sure these are connected people that then they can go and tell their friends the value that they got from you.
Mm-hmm.
You get testimonials from them. You start to get a sense of the working nature of your business, iron out your systems and processes in the process,
Right.
but also you're building your business grassroots. You're starting small. We have a perception that you need to start with the largest geographic area possible,
Mm-hmm.
all of the demographics, all of the
Mm-hmm.
people, and that like you're swinging this giant net hoping to catch two butterflies, right? But instead, it's like start with the power of your network and the
Mm-hmm.
people that you know and build off of that. It's not sexy again,
Right.
but it works. It really does. And I think ads are starting, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but a lot of social media platforms are starting to go to paid ad free options.
Mm.
So you will eventually be able to pay for an ad free Meta and Instagram.
Hmm.
People are going to lose their marbles because what are you going to do? There's no ads anymore.
Right.
You're going to have to talk to people.
Right.
And I think, again, that's the mark we miss with marketing in general is that we're at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, we're talking to people, not robots. People don't like being chased around the ad with or internet with ads.
Right.
People
Right.
people get exhausted. We all
Right.
are. So I like to say, like, think about the ways that you can get what you do in front of people that are interested
Mm-hmm.
and build out who your target audience is. Like, I recommend I every time I have a client, I go through this exercise and I actually name them. Like, my target audience is Serena. Does that mean that
Mm-hmm.
everyone I work with is Serena? No, but she's my North Star in
Mm-hmm.
is this something Serena would want? Right. And when I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing anything marketing wise, I'm like, is this resonating with the person that I've designed this for?
Hmm.
It just becomes your North Star. And I think that's the marketing that ultimately works when it's more personal to people.
So, well, first, I just want to throw this in real quick. That listening to you talk about the whole Instagram, Twitter piece, it sounds like they're copying the YouTube model because that's what YouTube is doing. Hey, you
Yep.
want ad free? Subscribe to YouTube TV. So
Yep.
so that copycats. But anyway,
Yeah.
but if it works, it works, right? But if you stated that if your North Star is Serena, right? But if does that really go with the idea that I may have to start free, to get my name out there? Like, how does that work together? Because sometimes, hey, Serena is worth maybe $1 billion by now today,
Yeah.
so if that's my North Star and that's who I'm targeting, why should I offer free if I know that Serena's going to pay me $1 million a session every 2 days?
Yeah. I think one of the things is, and again, it's more difficult when it comes to services marketing
Mm-hmm.
because like I'm an example of a services based business. I do a complimentary 30-minute consult because I
Mm-hmm.
want people to understand what it's like to work with me, how I talk, how I think, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, it's really hard for me to show, like, I have examples of strategy presentations, which I usually show as like tangible evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you work as a business to consumer, and let's just say that you sell hot dogs or like t-shirts,
Okay.
someone can try one of your hot dogs and say it's great. Someone can put on one of your t-shirts and say it's so soft, it's amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you need is proof. People ultimately want to understand that they are going to be spending their money
Mm-hmm.
with you, and that's not going to be a waste, right? I think we all have a risk aversity when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
what we're putting dollars towards.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on the nature of your offering. So, say, for example, you sell t shirts and they're like $30 a pop. You want people, like I always say this, especially if you're starting out, I want you to start giving those to people, A, for social proof. Are they
Mm-hmm.
being complimented on them? What are people saying when they're out with them? What are they saying? Is the t-shirt comfortable? Is it itchy? Is it, I
Mm-hmm.
don't like the material because it's not moisture wicking, whatever it is, right? But a part of that is just market research. A part of
Mm-hmm.
that is ironing out, is this everything I want and more with the clients that I want to buy from me? Because if you want a business that is set up and sustainable in the long run, you want to make sure clients are super happy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't you want to test it and test out your offering in the beginning? Um, and you don't have to do it free. I mean, it can be
Mm-hmm.
super low cost. And I'll give the example of like coaching. If you're have a coaching based business, and let's say your packages start at $3,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big investment for someone that might not have ever worked with you before.
Right.
So can you offer $100 1 hour one-on-one session to
Mm-hmm.
do strategic planning and goal setting and all of that, that ladders them up to that next level,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it depends on the nature of the business and what you're selling. But I want you to think of the customer and
Mm-hmm.
being in their shoes. If someone approached you and say, you need these t-shirts, your immediate reaction is probably like, I have 75,000 t-shirts. Why do I need another one? Right? But if you're able to say like, hey, I want to show, like, I want you to try out this t-shirt. I want you to tell me what you think about it. I want you to give me your feedback. If you like it, would you tell your friends about it? I have a code for you to give them.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you start small and it gets big. And I think that that's really important, is that we assume that by throwing out ads, that by posting on social media,
Mm-hmm.
that by getting influencers or any of this, but we're missing the mark of talking to people who, again, like, we're talking about their buying power. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
take marketing very seriously in that we're taking, somebody has worked hard for this money.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're giving it to me, I want to make sure that they're exceeding, like their expectations are exceeded in what they
Right.
receive. Um, and if you have that integrity and you have that belief in your business,
Mm-hmm.
you want to be open to criticism. You want to understand what people think.
Right.
And further, like, more like, you want to make sure that this works and provides results for them, especially services based.
Right.
You need
Mm-hmm.
people to say, working with you is the most amazing thing and it transformed my life. Or I did my taxes with so and so and they
Mm-hmm.
saved me $700.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that they will tell their friends, and they'll be like, well,
Right.
I want to do my taxes and save $700.
Right.
It's human nature. We don't want to waste money on things that aren't right for us. And we want someone else to be the explorer and go first and tell us what's good. So, just something to think about. I don't want to recommend everyone go around giving away freebies, but I
Right.
do want to say, especially as you start out, don't be afraid to start small and get curious.
So let me ask a question then. I mean, you've worked with some pretty impressive agencies, some
Thank you.
corporations, right? And so let's just take the 76ers for an example. That's an
Yeah.
organization that you work with. What is one thing that you might have learned? You don't have to be specific, but one thing that you might have learned working with them, that if someone is just starting out, that there's a practice that they could probably put into place to say, hey, I can implement this today, that I can compete with those larger brands. Because sometimes, again, we look at social media, we feel as though we can't compete. We feel as though we can't put in, $1,000 a day in just marketing or being sponsored or whatever it is. So, what is it, something that we could copy, quote unquote,
Yeah. Yeah.
that we could use something today?
Yeah. I think I would say never underestimate the power of a great strategy. And the
Mm.
agency I was with at the time was specialized really in brand and marketing strategy. And it was a fascinating behind the scenes look. That was the first client that I had when I went there. And it was the first time that I really was kind of put in a position to need to be a strategic thinker.
Mm,
But
mhm.
everything, I think strategy and marketing planning and a lot of that, like I'll be honest, so much of marketing is these weird terms and acronyms that
Yeah.
feel intimidating. There's this sense from people of like, well, I can't do that. I need to pay someone to do that. And yes and no. I want to encourage you though, like again, if we go back to what marketing really is, it's
Mhm.
connecting with people. And you as a person know how to do that. So going back to the example of the Sixers, I mean, we came up with a campaign strategy there, which was Together We Build.
Mm.
And it was really about rebuilding the team where they were at that point. But everything done from an aesthetic and visual standpoint, all of the messaging, everything came back to who is the client,
Mhm.
right? Who are the
Mhm.
people that are just have been there from the beginning, who love basketball, who want to see it back and revolutionized in this city, that want to see those star players, that want to see them succeed.
Mhm.
And everything was really kind of strategized there and built around that message. So I think, again, it's really easy for us to go to the place of, well, let's just say something, let's just put something out there.
Mhm.
But when you're intentional about who you're talking to, which is more of the marketing point, and who you are as a brand, which is the identity point,
Right.
and you have something truly unique that is both authentic in who you are and really hits the chord of who they are and how you connect with them, that is great marketing. And that's all really strategy needs to be, right? I can
Mm.
go on and on about all the exercises that I do with
Right.
brand voice and unique selling proposition, and they're important. But if you're just getting started, I would say just think about it through that lens of what is the strategy of how we'll reach people that isn't just generic cookie cutter off the shelf, but really is something meaningful and impactful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But um, right now, I use this as a analogy or an idea as we start to close this episode. I'm an introvert, Sonny, and I
Same, believe it or not, same.
and and so sometimes I don't like to talk to people. And I'm gonna use the Sixers idea of trusting process, right? So how can I trust the process, or even get to that point where I have a process in place for me to trust? So
Yeah.
where can I talk to you? Where can I find you? Where can I can maybe get some little tidbits from you that can help me trust the process?
Yeah. So I am mostly on LinkedIn. That is my social media of choice. So LinkedIn or my website, sunnydublick.com. And I definitely want to say, like anyone listening that's interested, happy to chat with you one on one. Um, I that will never work, obviously, is the name of this podcast. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to encourage you that it doesn't mean that even if things you feel like you're up against a wall or anything, there's always a way to make things work. I think it's just analyzing things and researching things at the beginning gives you the pinpoint and the place where you no longer have to waste money on just trying to force things. You start attracting things. So definitely want to open myself up to anybody that is interested in speaking more. But
Nice.
yes, on LinkedIn is where I post all my stuff. It's a lot of Taylor Swift stuff as of recently because I'm seeing her in concert soon. So
Nice.
I apologize for that. But yeah, I swear, normally I'm talking about marketing. So,
That's good. Well, I mean, that's a good strategy as well. So
yeah, calling in my fellow Swifties,
I
you know
know,
what I
right?
mean? But
But I thank you very much for coming on the show, Sonny. I appreciate you.
thank you. I appreciate you too.
And no problem. And so, but I gotta ask you my question, Sonny.
Oh no.
So we've been waiting for this answer. I had asked you off camera just to prep you, and you said it might take 30, 40 days or whatever it might be. But would you rather choose three doors or a fork in the road?
I think three doors,
Hmm.
right? Because I think to me that's more possibilities. And that to me is more options and more critical thinking and more places to go. And I am a firm believer, my mom really instilled this in me of like opening every door in life.
Mm.
So and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go with three doors. I was thinking Robert Frost and The Road Not Taken with the other one,
Yes.
but I would say three doors.
Three. All right. So let me throw this little nugget out there. If I said there are no parameters, because I didn't say that, right? If there are
Yeah.
no parameters, would that change the answer?
No.
Okay. All right, cool.
I'm sticking with
You
it.
sticking
I'm
with
gonna be
it?
decisive in this case.
Now, I'm gonna throw another little question out there, a little monkey wrench, since you said something
Yeah.
about Taylor Swift. So, if you had a choice to sing a duet with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, that's hard. Okay, so I want to say that it probably would be Taylor Swift,
Uh-huh.
but like I want to be completely honest in that like I cannot sing at all, so I feel like it would almost be embarrassing to be next to her and to be singing. But I've been such a fangirl of hers for the longest time. But like, if not, like, I want to say someone. I mean, I would say like Whitney, but again, I would just
Hmm.
embarrass myself. That's what's hard. It's like if it was like just meeting them question, it would be
Right.
different. But I want to say Taylor Swift. Yeah,
Nice. Nice. I
my
appreciate
girl.
you. I
Yeah.
appreciate you going with the flow with that, Sonny. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, but thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Of course, it was so nice meeting you. Thank you so much for having me.
Same here, same here. And of course, all the information that Sunny provided will be in the show notes, the website, the LinkedIn, and maybe some Swifty stuff. We don't know. So we thank you very much for listening today, and I will talk to you a little later.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?